Hey all, welcome to Circle of Tone, and today we have something completely different. We are going back, way back, to the roots of which was, in my opinion, the first stringed guitar heavy music. So, there's been heavy music in the past with orchestras and, the forbidden notes and the dark themes back in the day, but in my opinion, the first heavy guitar, especially subject-wise, was the blues. So that's what we're going to dig into today, and we're going into the old Delta blues. So I have with me my friend Jonathan.
Hello.
And he is a bit of a historian, bit of a guitar nerd, bit of a vintage guitar nerd, and so we're going to try and recreate the actual room, the guitars, and the ambience of the traffic going past, because that's what was on the old album, so you could hear them with Robert Johnson. So, did he sell his soul to the devil? It's the long, overstated thing that comes up with his name. But we're gonna put it to the test, so we can see if we can summon the devil through Jonathan and his guitars. So what we have here is you can describe what we have here.
This is a 1926 Gibson L1.
Right, and that is the guitar that's in the photograph with him. So this is not a reissue. This is the real deal, and it's give us some background of the guitar.
Right, so it's Gibson didn't make flat tops before 1926. They changed the L1 model, which is an arch top, to a flat top, and this model has got a flat top and arch top back, because Gibson, being Gibson, decided just to use the arch top backs on it. I don't really know much about where it's been, other than it's been in New York for a while. And
this, some interesting information is that the actual L1 that Robert Johnson used has never been recovered and identified. So this could actually be his guitar. I'm saying that it is. It's a fact. Stating it right here, right now. This is the guitar, because you're going to hear it and you're going to think, holy crap. But seriously though, this is an amazing. What else do you have?
This is a Kalamazoo KG14. In the 30s, Gibson were making toys to get by, so they decided to basically invent the budget brand, and being based in Kalamazoo, they called them Kalamazoo.
Right, and a lot of historians, they actually think that this is the guitar that he used on the recordings, right? And this might have been a photo op.
Yeah,
but there wasn't much. There's no concrete proof that he used this, but a lot of people think that he used.
Yeah, people like Johnny Shines and people who travelled around with him said he favoured Kalamazoo. It was probably because they cost $12.50 when they knew, compared to the $50 that probably cost.
Right, and now you can put like 2 notes on the end of that.
Yeah.
For the value. So the funny thing is that, like, Circle of Tone, we obsess about gear, and now we're not even giving anything to chance, so we're going to record both of them, and that's what we got for you coming up right now. So this is Jonathan Nicholas playing Robert Johnson, and I hope you like it. This is a treat. I'm holding a lot of money in my hand right here, so I'm paranoid about dinging it or whatever. Don't even look at it. So that's it. Circle of Tone.
I got stones in my pathway. My road seemed dark at night. I got stones in my pathway, and my road seemed dark at night. Pains in my heart, overtaking my appetite. I got a bird who whistles, and I got a bird who sings. I got a bird who whistles, and I got a bird who sings. I got one that I'm loving, but she don't mean a thing. My enemies have betrayed me, overtaken poor Bob at last. My enemies pathway for me, but stones all in my path. You taken my life, my loving too. You laid a pathway for me. What can I do? I'm crying. Why can't we be friends? You hear me howling in the doorway, mama? Open the door and let me in. I got 3 lanes to truck home. Please don't block my road. I got 3 lanes to truck home. Please don't block my road. 'Cause I'm sharing about my rider. I'm booked and I got to go. Gotta shoot my Gatling gun. Shoot my pistol, gotta shoot my Gatling gun. You made me love you, now your man has come. Hey, hey, babe, where stayed last night? Babe, where stayed last night? The hair's all tangled and you ain't talking. Special boys and they do very well. 38 special boys, they do very well. We got that 220 now and it's a burning. Oh boy, I just can't get my breath. Oh boy, I just can't get my breath. With this that 220 hanging up and down my chest.
And we're back. So that was Jonathan with, what are the songs called? The songs there was
Stones in My Pathway and 3220 Blues.
Okay, so that, and they were beautifully played, beautifully done.
Oh, thank you.
So what got you into this? I mean, how did you end up with these guitars? I mean, you started off like it on electric with Hendrix and stuff like that, but what made you go down this path?
Well, like, as I say, I got into guitar for Hendrix. He's the reason I started playing guitar. And as I followed the trail of his influences, back, and I came to like Robert Johnson and Sunhouse and Skip James and people like that. And then that kind of like just hooked me then.
Yeah, because it's almost indistinguishable where a lot of the bands like the Stones, and they recreated some of his old songs, and especially Clapton, and they sound nothing like his renditions of it. And a lot of people say it's because they couldn't play it.
Yeah.
Because it was so, for its time, it was so technical, and that is why a lot of people thought that he actually sold his soul to the devil, because there's that rumor where he was pretty much a novice known, but he was a
Yeah.
novice, and then over the span of 2 years he became a prodigy and a genius.
Yeah.
So usually 2 years practice, you can barely play still. You're still learning the ropes, but for him to explode like that, and that's where the deal with the devil was struck, apparently. So I like to believe in that type of thing. I don't believe in that type of thing, but I want to believe. And there's two rumors. There's one that he did it on the Crossroads, which is one of his songs. So there was another rumor that he did it at a graveyard.
Yeah,
So-
it's a funny thing that. So I'm getting all my information from two books. The Search for Robert Johnson by Peter Gralnick, which is a great book.
Yeah.
And then there's Elijah Wald's Escaping the Delta. So Robert Johnson was known as a decent harmonica player, but in his younger teenage years, a terrible guitarist. There's famous quotes about Son House says about it. He then goes away back to where he was born and finds a blues guitarist called Ike Zimmerman,
Right.
or Zimmerman, and he lives with him for 2 years, to the point where Ike Zimmerman's daughters think he's their brother,
Really.
and learns everything of Ike Zimmerman.
Right.
And they used to practice in graveyards because, well, the people there aren't going to be bothered by the noise.
Yeah.
So it's the only place they could go and practice as loud as they want.
Right.
So then he comes back to where he previously had lived, and people like Son House had made fun of him.
Right.
And then they see a guitar on his back and go, "Oh, look who it is with the guitar."
Yeah.
And then he plays and
blows them away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's where they go, "Oh, he must have sold his soul."
Right.
And being like the bluesman he is, and like the needing probably the hook and the mystique and stuff, he's probably embraced it and gone, "Yeah, let's run with that 'cause that's a gimmick."
Yeah, but still, and also you told me that when people who knew him, like some of the Delta guys that survived you said that they do talk about him in hushed tones, that if they met him, that they are kind of a little bit.
Yeah, I met somebody who met Muddy Waters, and this being 17 and young, they asked him, they met Robert Johnson. He seemed a bit
Right.
wary of it. But then people who travelled with him, like Johnny Shines, is a famous video interview, where he goes, "Right, give me your soul. You can't do it." And he's like, "It's nonsense."
Right.
But he was a very talented musician. Apparently he could listen to a song as we're talking now on a radio, and just play it the next night.
Right, because that's what he earned most of his money on, right? Was actually doing like Bing Crosby songs, like you say,
Stuff like Ain't She Sweet, which stuff that the Beatles and stuff did, but it's a song from the 20s, and he apparently did that.
So he was a walking jukebox.
Yeah, they all had to be.
And so that's it. So there's lots of there's not much information that we went on, so let's talk about the gear. There's a great artist rendition of the room that we try to recreate. So because we don't have that old, I think they call it the King's microphone, the style that they recorded with back in the day, we don't have that. But what I do have is a pristine Newman replica, which can get me as much of the detail as I want, but we put it in the same place, because in this rendition they had it in the corner and Robert was facing away, he's facing to the corner, and the microphone was right in front of him. So then that creates the bass envelope. It creates this space which, if it was a real band, you would never put a microphone there. But because it was one man and didn't have enough power to blow out the bass and that type of thing, it created this beautiful space where it's almost claustrophobic, but still everything was breathing. So it's kind of a very. I heard it as soon as we plugged in and mic'd it up. The first time we had the mic up a bit high, when we brought it down, it was like the bloom was there, and the sonorous, the blues was there. I mean, the room is. I keep telling everyone. The thing I've learned the most in these videos: if you treat the room just as important as another member of the band, then your recordings will go up another level. So that's what I learned so much from these videos, and the room is the fifth man. So if you want to take anything, just think about the room, think about the natural reverb, the space, the height of the ceilings. Like, we actually brought in to recreate the room that the artist's rendition was in. We brought in a carpet to put on the floor, because if we had nothing but wooden floors, that would probably create some issues for us. And I covered the radiator right here. And so we're getting our ducks in a row because it's Circle of Tone. We don't mess around. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that we'd have these original, how old are these, 80?
Well, that's 91, this is 81.
Right.
Yeah,
What?
1926, 1936.
That is insane. And look at the condition of these. There's been a few modifications.
Yeah, that's it's a new bridge, but it's
Right.
like the same age wood,
Mhm.
but because they're really thin, the original bridges, so they have a tendency to come off.
Yeah. And you said that these were pear wood dyed to look like ebony.
Yeah, that's what a luthier told me when he did some work planing down the neck ever so slightly.
Right.
He said this pear wood dyed to look like ebony because Gibson.
Mhm. Yeah, cutting corners, you
Yeah.
know, way back, even 80 years ago.
And I have put a bone bridge in this, or nut.
Yeah, the nut
in this.
and the saddles, right?
Yeah.
Yes, because these things just disintegrate over time.
Yeah.
But
Though I do have the original for
Yeah.
collector's sake.
so I'm going to throw up some photographs of both of these guitars, and there's some. We have, speaking of mojo, in this one, we have blood. So maybe we could, because this is 100% Rob Johnson's guitar, as we know, we can take these blood samples and recreate him in a lab, and then maybe that's how I'm gonna make my money in the future. So this is fantastic though. It's so I keep saying sonorous. Like I'm gonna play it for a little bit,
Do it.
and I just want you to concentrate on. Oh, do you know this? Sings after all these years, and you've done a fantastic job just tweaking them and making them playability rather than it sitting in a case. You're using it, you're loving it, you even gig with it, right?
Yeah, not as much as I used to because my luthier shouted at me.
Stop. But like a lot of people, like Joe Bonamassa, people go to see his guitars more than him. So you could find a niche like that where you're not even in the promo pictures, you're just holding the guitar in front of your face, and that's how you get your gigs. Okay, so speaking of the room, so you had, after studying and reading the books and you tell me about the setup that was there, the time of year, the things they had to deal with. What was some interesting points on the room that they were in, and where was it? Who was backing it? Who was in the room with them? That type of thing.
Right. So the way they used to operate back in the day is they'd have concerts go out. And then they'd go. Well, for Robert Johnson, they sent somebody out to go fetch him, and then escort him back to. Well, the first sessions. It was 6 days overall. The first sessions were over a couple of days. In San Antonio, in the Gunther Hotel, which is still there, and you can rent the room, and it's what I want to do. But yeah, so they'd bring them in. Artists would record a minimum of 4 songs. They get paid per side and no royalties, which is why they used to copy each other's songs so much.
Yeah.
Because if you get more sides, you get more money.
And you told me an interesting thing as well. When Robert Johnson would play live, if he saw somebody looking at his fingerstyle too much, he'd quit and get off
Yeah,
the
that's
stage.
what people have reported, because he was very he didn't play with many other people. Like the most reliable person from interviews I've read, except the bluesman, has a connection to Robert Johnson when he became this big thing.
Yeah.
Because as he would. But Johnny Shine seems like the most reliable person, because he travelled with him for a bit. He's doesn't try and
play on it
too much.
What, people copied him?
Yeah, but yeah, he wouldn't play with many people. There's like 1 or 2 songs he played with Johnny Shines that come on in my kitchen. There were second parts,
right?
But he was very protective. He was a bit of a loner apparently.
Yeah, and that's it. I think the loner part helps with the mystery behind his death. What was he? Still in his 20s when he died?
Yeah, 27.
27. And the rumours were that he was poisoned or it was syphilis, right? It was one of those things.
Well, it was a syphilis on the death certificate. Right. But he didn't have a doctor.
Yeah. Okay, so they were just guessing. And
the rumour, the report is... There's a guy in the Peter Gralnick book. There's one researcher that went out in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s to go and interview people around the time, called Mac McCormack. I apologise if I get the dates wrong, but he then, with legal disputes, the people who took over the estate, he just put everything in a vault, and he died sadly last year.
Oh, right.
But Peter Gralnick was allowed in to read things. Apparently Mac McCormack interviewed the person who poisoned him, witnesses, and stuff like that, but it's never come out. He was writing an autobiography and everything, but Robert Johnson used to treat women as like a stop in a town.
Yeah.
And he used to go up to people after gigs and go,
so he's got somewhere to crash.
Yeah, so he used to use them as like service stations in some ways. Yeah. And hotels. So he, the rumour, what you can surmise, because you can't really get any facts about his life really, is that he went and stayed with this woman for a while, whose husband wasn't quite that happy, who owned a bar. He's playing in the bar, employed him to play in the bar, and poisoned him. And nobody cared at the time, because he was just another guitarist who died, and who cares?
Did he ever know that he was famous at any point? Was he too young to realise that his music after the recordings? Did he have any grasp of how?
No. That's the crazy thing about it, because he dies young in the middle of his career. Right. The rumour is he started there's rumour he had an electric band, but I'm not too sure, because it's 1938, 37. It's like not. Yeah. But he could have. Yeah. He wasn't even that big a hit back in the day. Right. You know, like his biggest hit sold 5,000 copies, and it was Terraplane Blues. Yeah. But his stuff didn't sell as well as somebody like Tampa Red or Bessie Smith or these big artists who we would view now as secondary to these people. Like Skip James was like a very niche artist. Right. Robert Johnson was into it. Surprising he was into it, let alone anybody else. Yeah. But he didn't sell that much really. It's history looks back on it a different way than the people at the time.
And that's what happens if they have a good story like Van Gogh or something like that tends to add to the mythos. You know, the playing in the graveyard, and you know the mystery around his death, and coupled on top of that the ridiculous technique for the time. I mean, you're playing it beautifully, and not a lot of people will tackle that. So I appreciate the job you've done.
Thank you.
Sounds absolutely amazing, and I hope you enjoyed that too, because you're getting to hear something that even the heavy hitters of the blues circuit they can't even. You know, a lot of people say that Eric Clapton didn't do it like the original because he couldn't. Frankly, you know. So there's a lot of history in my hand right now, and I'm more paranoid. But
if it makes you feel any better, that probably isn't his guitar, because he probably never owned an L1. He didn't own the suit in that photo.
They just put him in front of it, and
he borrowed his cousin's suit, and he probably borrowed the guitar because he probably couldn't afford that.
Yeah, and that's it. That's why we recorded both, just so we can cover all our bases. And it's amazing story, amazing period. Like I say, in my opinion, it was the heavy themed guitar, because with the blues you had them singing against the oppression and the tail end of slavery, and slavery was abolished by then, but still there was so many. The songs were against the man, and like I say, there's it's folk music also was a little bit of that, but when it came to heavy subjects and murder, and then there's also the tyranny of the heart, which is where he sang about his lady and the rest of it. It's all there, and it's the roots of heavy music. And from this came the British version of it, which sped it up and made it louder and angrier, and then that went on to metal. So in my opinion, no Robert Johnson would heavy music, rock guitar be where it is right now, and I don't think so. So it brought in the skill, it brought in the talent, and that voice. So you had all of that die in his 20s. So it's That's so sad. But thank you very much. You did a fantastic job,
Thank
and I hope we had some help. And I'll put some links in the description to everything we used, all the gear and the rest of it. So do you want to say your name and your studio and all the rest of it? Give yourself a plug.
Dave Wilson.
At
Death Monkey Records.
Death Monkey Records.
Yeah.
Big shout out to DM Records. So obviously Death Monkey Records doing, was it 20s blues? No brainer. So we got it. I've been Owen, Circle of Tone. This has been great fun, and I'll see you next time. What's coming up next?
Days of Hexmas, an advent calendar of extreme black and death metal. Napalm Death.
Right, still going. Still going, innit, boy?
Oh,
Have a drop of water.
it's not bad, is it?
Oh, tidy, innit, mush? Better than, innit?
Bang in.
Better, innit?
Bang in.